Let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. And you know, when I invite somebody back, you know they made a very good impression the first time around. Please introduce yourself.
I'm excited to be back. We had a great conversation the first time. We were just talking sports offline. So Glassford and Prince, thank you for having me back. We're gonna have fun round two here.
Indubitably, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to their health?
The biggest mistake is that they follow what the mainstream media and the government tells them to do. That's
Interesting.
the biggest mistake. And I can elaborate if you want.
Please do.
So no conspiracy theories, but when we look at what the government promotes in terms of nutrition, it's really the opposite of what we should be doing. If you saw like there was a recent what's called Tufts University came out with this food compass, which is different than the My Food Plate and the pyramid and all that, but they recommend certain foods for you and your family, and they put different foods next to a different category. Green means eat as much as we recommend eating as much as possible. Yellow was to be in moderation, and then in red to be minimized. And they put frosted mini wheats, they put Lucky Charms, they put chocolate covered almonds, all in green, and then they put eggs and red meat in the red bars, saying you should eat frosted mini wheats, you should eat Lucky Charms, but don't eat too much eggs and meat. So that has been a common theme for many, many years. So I always tell people, pay close attention to what the government is telling you to eat and their nutrition guidelines, and then do the complete opposite, and you'll be healthy. So the biggest mistake people make is they follow their advice when they should follow their advice, but follow it in the way that's the opposite of what you should do.
So you think the government is doing that purposely so we can be unhealthy, so they don't want us healthy?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of money in people that are sick. I'm not saying they're trying to kill us, but here's the truth. A cured patient is a lost customer, according to the government, according to the doctors, right? So they don't want to cure people. They don't want to prevent disease. They want to have people sick because that makes them billions and billions of dollars. The government is in cahoots with big pharma, and by having people experience symptoms from eating the wrong foods, they could prescribe a medication or a drug or a surgery. So it's a profit machine. So the answer is yeah, it's intentionally set up that way.
Man, I love me some cereal, man. I can knock out a box in a day. Like it's so invigorating when I have a fresh box of cereal with my almond milk. I go to town, and as I'm eating it, I start to realize I'm basically having dessert for breakfast. Like I might as well have a slice of cake, wash it down with some milk, and call it breakfast.
Mine as well. Same thing. That's what people are doing. So, and that's what they recommend. So I'm saying do the opposite of what they recommend.
So what about the Raisin Brands and the Honey Bunches of Oats?
All that's still processed. It's still going to create a high glucose response. Now, of course, different cereals are worse than others, but all cereals are packaged. If you just looked at the ingredients of Honey Nut Cheerios or Raisin Bran or whatever healthy looking cereal, don't fall for the cover, which looks so healthy. The American Heart Association puts their stamp of approval and it looks all good. But if you read the ingredients, there's a whole bunch of things that people can't even pronounce. There's synthetic vitamins in there. It's going to create a high glucose response. And yeah, they're all processed. I call them Franken foods.
Wow. I think, what about cornflakes though? Cornflakes, no sugar.
Cut the crap.
Cornflakes
it's so bland that I feel like it has to be healthy for you.
Well, it's better than others that are loaded with sugar, but it's still a very, very highly processed product. So even though it's not loaded with sugar, like there's not a lot of added sugar, when it goes into your body converts it to sugar. So it's still like eating sugar. It's the same thing.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned with all your years in the health industry?
The biggest lesson in the health industry specifically is how incredible the human body is and how we're able to take so many hits, right? Eating cereal for breakfast, and people have bad behaviors, smoking, drugs, whatever it is, eating rancid foods, but the body just takes a hit and keeps going. So the biggest lesson is that the body was built so magnificently, and it's incredible. It was built to thrive, and we've been taking so many hits and it still goes strong, and people could still live to 60, 70, even eating those foods. But imagine what happens when you remove them or limit them. You could live way past 100. So what has surprised me is how strong the human body was built.
That's a very good point because Prince and I were talking about the other day how we can have people 600, 1,000 pounds who still are living and coherent. That's definitely a miracle. And people who smoke for 30, 40 years still living. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Testament to the
crazy.
human body.
Oh my god.
And what I don't understand is the lifespan here is longer, particularly to like people in Africa, for example, because my family is African descent, and I think the average lifespan is probably 50s if you're lucky, 50s, 60s. But over here, they eat way better food, way cleaner,
Mm.
and they don't live as long. But Americans here eat like crap and smoke and drugs and whatever, and they can live to be 60, 70, 80, even 100. And I never understood that concept. It's like it's ass backwards.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between lifespan, which is what you're talking about, you know, the average lifespan, 50 years old, 60 years old. There's a difference between lifespan and health span. Although people might be living longer here, they might be increasing their lifespan. Their health span is decreasing, meaning they're miserable. They're unhappy, unhealthy. They don't have energy. So yeah, we might be extending life, but their quality of life is super poor. So drugs might help somebody live longer, but is that quality of life worth living? Probably not. I mean, what's the point if you can't enjoy your life? So there's a difference between lifespan and health span. We want both. We want lifespan and we want health span, not one or the other.
Mm. Quality of life.
Quality of life, exactly. Yeah.
What would you say is one of the things that the average person does on the daily basis that they don't know how vastly unhealthy that it is?
The vegetable oils. I think we spoke about it last time, right? Yeah, we definitely did. I talked about Dr. Kay Shanahan, who was Kobe Bryant's nutritionist. It's the vegetable oils. They're everywhere. Seed oils, they're also called. People think they're healthy. Again, the American Heart Association, when you go to the grocery store and you look for canola oil, which is one of those really bad oils, it has that stamp of approval from the American Heart Association. People think it's healthy. It's at the Whole Foods hot food bar. It's at all the restaurants. That's the biggest mistake people make, thinking those oils are healthy for you, but they're really not. They're worse than sugar. They're worse than smoking. They're highly inflammatory.
Yeah, I saw a post you made that said like it's worse than smoking cigarettes. That's
Yeah.
crazy. If I have to choose between a pack of Newports and canola oil, I'm better off going with the Newports.
Yeah, here's why. And I would say don't go with either, but let's say hypothetically you had two options. Well, let's say you had three options. And I asked this question to Dr. Kate Shanahan. So for your listeners who are not aware, and Prince, you might not be aware of who she is either. So Dr. Kate Shanahan, she's a medical doctor and she's a friend of mine. She was Kobe Bryant's nutritionist when obviously he played for the Lakers, back when Dwight Howard used to play. She got Dwight Howard off his sugar addiction. She helped Kobe Bryant heal from really severe injuries. So she's really smart. She knows what she's doing. I asked her the question. I said, Dr. Kate, what's worse, smoking cigarettes every day, eating processed sugar every day, or eating vegetable oils every day? And she said, that's easy. It's the vegetable oils. And here's why. She said, if you smoked cigarettes, of course, that's not good for you. But once you finish the last puff, the damage has been done. If you eat processed sugar in excess, that's not good for you. It creates extra body fat, but hey, you could exercise and you could burn that off. These vegetable oils, when you consume them, they get stuck in your body fat for 2 to 5 years. Meaning, if you got rid of them today, 2 years later, half of them will still be in your body fat, creating inflammation. And that's why it's worse than sugar and smoking.
So what vegetable oils are acceptable?
None. None are acceptable. So we want to. So the ones that are bad are canola oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil. We want to avoid sunflower oil, soybean oil, safflower oil. We want to avoid rice bran oil and grapeseed oil. Those are all bad. They're all classified as vegetable oils. The ones we want to consume, I think that was your question. Like, what are the oils that we can actually consume? Not vegetable oils, but olive oil is great. Avocado oil is great. Coconut oil, awesome. Real butter, real ghee, even like beef tallow. Those are much, much healthier for people.
Extra virgin olive oil?
Yeah, organic extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass bottle. That's the way to do it.
Got you. You talking my language. Do you have any children by any chance?
I don't. I have a fiance, a dog, and 2 cats. No kids yet.
Got you. Yeah, I like how you're talking. So with your fiance, does she follow a strict health diet as you do?
No, she does not. She doesn't do keto like I do and intermittent fast as much as me, but she does avoid the vegetable oil. She knows enough that I've taught her to avoid those. But no, she definitely has more sugar and ice cream and carbs than I do. So we kind of are on a different page there, except for the vegetable oil part.
Does that bother you? Do you hope for her to turn a page eventually?
I do would like for her to eat healthier, of course, because I know what like eating gluten and wheat and high processed carbs could do. So she doesn't eat a lot of it. And it has in the past been a bumpy area. She always says, "Why are you judging me when I tell her not to eat that stuff?" So now I just let it go. But yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I would definitely love for her to eat cleaner than she does.
Do you hope that your future kids will follow a strict keto diet like yourself?
Yeah, not necessarily a strict keto diet, but they're definitely going to eat whole foods, stay away from vegetable oils. We'll keep them active. So if they want to have ice cream and sugar, they'll exercise it off. But not necessarily like a strict keto for kids. No.
Got you. Now, this question, I really do. I think it's my most interesting question I have today. So let's say hypothetically there's someone who's on their health journey. They're eating right, they're exercising about 3 or 4 times a week, but they want to have that cheat day. How much does that cheat day set them back?
Well, it depends, right? If somebody is somewhat healthy and they're doing what you just said, they're eating pretty clean, exercising, and they have like a cheat meal. Let's say they have a whole bunch of pizza or ice cream or whatever it is. How much does that set you back? It doesn't really set you back that much if you're healthy. As
Mm,
long as that cheat meal doesn't have those vegetable oils, that will set you back much longer. But if you're somewhat healthy,
Wow.
I'm okay with you. I call it feasting instead of cheating, but it's not really going to set you back that much. Now, with that being said, if somebody has insulin resistance or is type 2 diabetic, somebody who's over 30 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight, that will set them back for a week or so, maybe even longer if they have that cheat meal. So it
mm.
depends on where the person is at with their journey. If somebody's healthy, it's fine. If somebody's not that healthy, they want to be a little bit more strict until they get to that point.
Do you have cheat days?
I have feast meals for sure. I don't make an exception with the vegetable oils, but I do have sugar. I have ice cream. I don't have gluten. I don't do really well with gluten, so I'll have if I have pizza, it'll be like a gluten-free pizza. Ice cream is my I guess you would call it like cheat or feast meal. So I'll have like gelato and ice cream for sure. I've done the work. My metabolism is healthy, so I think it's important to enjoy yourself and not be so rigid your entire life for sure.
How much does alcohol set you back?
Depends on the type of alcohol and how much you're drinking. So there are some arguments and even some studies that suggest alcohol in moderation can be totally fine. I'm not sure I agree with all that, but if you are going to have alcohol, having some like clear alcohol would be better, meaning like whiskey, tequila, vodka on the rocks. If you're going to do wine, you would go with like some sort of organic wine. I would avoid beer though, because that could be problematic. I don't think it'll set you back that much, depending on how often you drink. Again, it also depends on how healthy you are, but moderation is going to be the key there. And I would avoid drinking a lot of beer. I think that's where the issue arises.
What about a Four Loko?
Four Loko, I got to look up the details on that. Let's see. Four Loko. I think I've looked this up in the past and I think it's not good. Let's see. Fourloko.com. Premium malt beverages. Are you 21 or older? Yes, I am. It's asking me. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna just look up core flavors. Let's see what's in this thing. Do you drink this? Is that what you're asking?
I'll save my comment till after.
All right. So I'm looking at the red flavor. What I'm looking for is the ingredients list. Let's see if they have that. It doesn't have a list of their ingredients.
Maybe Google ingredients in Four Loko.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't make it clear on the website. So
I
Four
think
Loko.
we
What? What did
I
you
think
say?
we all know why they don't make it clear.
Yeah. You're right. So it has alcohol, caffeine, taurine, and guarana, and it has sugar and artificial flavoring. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. You're combining. So you're probably going to drink this at night, unless you're drinking this for breakfast.
Not for breakfast.
Yeah, it has caffeine, which you don't want to have at night. And then, so caffeine's an upper, obviously, and alcohol's a downer. So I guess they're trying to balance that out. But you don't want to have caffeine at night. And then it has artificial flavoring in it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
But hypothetically, for the Four Loko drinkers out there, once in a while probably wouldn't hurt you.
Again, we said it earlier. The human body is so resilient. As long as you're doing so many things right, you can get away with a little bit of some bad things, right? I would recommend the Four Loko over the vegetable oil. So if you're gonna have a vice, let it be that.
Wow,
Try to be
yo,
low
you're so anti-vegetable oil.
Dude,
Wow.
yeah, they stick around for long. I mean, Four Locos, your liver will detoxify the alcohol, the artificial flavors, your body will get rid of it eventually, but the vegetable will stick around for too long. So yeah, as long as you're doing a lot of things right, hey, enjoy yourself.
In conclusion, the healthier you are, the more Four Loko you can drink.
Pretty much. Although I don't endorse Four Loko.
Not yet. So would you say what are some of the negative effects of having horrible sleeping patterns?
Sleep is foundational. Sleep is more important than nutrition and exercise combined. And the reason I say that is because think about it. You could go days without food. As a matter of fact, people have done weeks and months without food. You can go days, weeks, months without exercise. But what happens if you try to go days, weeks, months without sleep? It wouldn't happen. You'd go crazy. You'd start turning into a mad person. So it's foundational. What will happen if you're not getting quality sleep? Studies show, there was a study that came out from the University of Chicago, I think it was, that showed in healthy men. So these men were healthy, young adults. After 7 nights of sleeping 5 hours or less, they had blood sugar levels of that of somebody who was pre-diabetic. Okay, just after 7 days of not getting enough sleep, and it wrecks your hormones when you don't get enough sleep. It's hard to burn fat. It's hard to focus. It's hard to clear out toxins in the brain, so you could hypothetically increase your risk of like Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep is fundamental. That's where a lot of where it should start for a lot of people.
Wow. You said it's more important than exercise and nutrition combined.
It is. Yep.
Wow. So if you had the choice between vegetable oils or going days without sleep, which were you choosing?
So the options are to consume vegetable oils or go days without sleep is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's tough. That is tough. I would go days without. I would try to go days without sleep.
That should show you how awful these vegetable oils are. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's very, very intense. Wow.
That speaks volumes, huh? Sorry, go ahead, Prince.
No, I said for real. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I'm actually flabbergasted. So for someone who has insomnia, what are some of the things that they can do to combat that other than CPAP?
Yeah, CPAP is not. I have a lot of students come into my academy who are on a CPAP machine, and that's not a long-term solution. You definitely want to work on getting off the CPAP. But insomnia, I've never suffered from insomnia. My fiance has, so it's usually brought on from a mental stress event, like when her mom was in the hospital last year, and then it brought on insomnia for her. I'm not an insomnia expert, but I do have a good friend of mine. His name is Devin Burke, who has a great book called The Sleep Advantage, and he worked with my fiance, and he had her do a few different things. And keep in mind, my fiance's insomnia was acute. It wasn't chronic. There's a difference between somebody who has had insomnia for months and years versus somebody who had it for days and weeks, which was my fiance's case. So what he had her do was she had a scheduled nighttime routine where we aimed to go to bed at the same time. There were certain cues that signaled to her body she was getting ready for bed. So like wearing blue light blocking glasses, turning off any TV or movies or whatever that's going to stimulate the heart rate. And then he coached her on when she's lying in bed and she's having trouble falling asleep. Let's say it's 20 minutes in and oh my gosh, she's starting to think, oh, is this going to be one of those nights where I'm not going to sleep again? To have her get out of bed and actually go do something else for a few minutes and then go back in bed and reattempt to go to sleep. So not laying there trying to fall asleep and trying to force it, but to get out of bed, do something else, get your mind off of it, and then go back and then work on the stress part, which she did. And then eventually her sleep got better. Now that might work for somebody who has an acute insomnia. I don't think it'll work for somebody who has a chronic, and I'm not an expert, but I would check out Devin Burke. He's the expert on that.
Devin Burke, is he a doctor?
He's not a doctor. He's a sleep coach. He's here in Florida. He's written a sleep book, and a super smart guy too. So Burke, Burke, is how you spell his last name.
Got it. Oh, what are some of the best foods for energy?
The best foods for energy are going to be fat and protein. So butter is terrific for energy. Grass-fed butter
Interesting.
is great.
Not
Olive
Country
oil.
Crock?
What?
Not Country Crock, the butter brand?
No, that's not real butter. There's vegetable oil in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we use that with regularity. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's canola oil in that. Yeah, switch over to Kerrygold or Vital Farms. That's real butter. Yeah. Country Crock is a whole bunch of crock. Foods for energy. Blueberries are great. Meat, like red meat, terrific. It's like protein and fat. Eggs are great for energy. If you do well with like green leafy vegetables like arugula and dandelion greens, that'll be great. But hey, meat, like protein and fat. If you want to have energy, eat more protein and fat.
Got you. What do you think are some of the best ways to stay productive?
As regards to like an entrepreneur or just in general to be productive?
I would say in general.
In general. So whether like you're a student or you have a job or you're an entrepreneur, how do you stay productive?
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the sleep part. If you're not getting quality sleep, it's going to be hard to focus and have energy. So you fix your sleep, number one. Move your body, number two. When you move your body, you get endorphins going. And when you move your body, especially when you do sprints. So I don't know if you play basketball. If any of you play basketball, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basketball is great. Anything that causes your body to sprint, what happens is when your body is sprinting like that, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight nervous system. And then it floods your brain full of something called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotropic factor. So BDNF is like miracle growth for the brain. It helps you stay more focused, more resilient, more creative. So sleep, exercise, and then of course eating more protein and fat, eating blueberries and olive oil, great for the brain as well. That'll help you. And then of course, make sure you're living a life on purpose with your purpose. Like you could be doing things that you hate doing, and it's going to be very, very hard to be productive. So find out what you love to do, what you're passionate about, what you're really good at, and live on purpose with that purpose. That'll give you a lot of energy as well.
If you could only choose 5 health foods for the rest of your life to eat, what would they be?
Red meat, eggs, blueberries, olive oil, and avocados.
I was gonna say avocado. That's the only reason I eat avocados, is because I hear it's like a superfood.
For sure. Healthy fats, potassium, B vitamins, taste really good. I love guacamole too. Yeah. I just had half an avocado earlier today.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the taste. I'm a fan of the health benefits.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
At least you're
It
still
tastes
doing
like anything.
For real.
You too. What about in guacamole? Then it tastes different, no?
Yeah.
I remember Doritos had a guacamole chip back in the day. I like that. I personally don't like guacamole as a dipping sauce. I'd rather dip it in cheese personally.
Okay. Well, I like guac.
I wonder how often, like when we go to these fast food restaurants, do they normally make the food with canola oil?
Dude, all the time. 95% of the time.
I'm screwed. I'm screwed is what you're telling me.
Yeah, don't eat fast food. Here's what you can do. Number one, try to avoid fast food as much as possible. Number two, if you could get them to grill your foods, then you don't have to worry about it. Somehow if they could grill it and not, I think McDonald's, now I'm not advocating for McDonald's at all, but I think they grill their burgers, their fake burgers, whatever it is. I don't think they use that many oils on it, but you might want to check. I know that there is a restaurant that does wings. What are they called? I think it's Buffalo Wild Wings. I think they fry their wings in beef tallow. I think they're one of the safe ones. I have to verify that. But yeah, man, they're everywhere. You have to just ask and make a request. Now, what I do is a little extreme. When I go to restaurants, I tell the server that I'm allergic to vegetable oils. Now, I know restaurants are different than fast food, but when I go to restaurants, I make that request. I say I'm allergic. And I actually created something called, you're going to think I'm nuts, both of you. but this is called a seed oil allergy card. And I showed the server this, and it shows all the bad oils that are on here that I'm allergic to. I say I'm allergic to, and then it shows in green the ones that they should use instead. And they listen to me because I have the allergy card, and anybody could get this for free. You can get it for free. Seedoilcard.com if you want to download this. Save it as a PDF.
Seedoilcard.com.
Yep.
Wow. That does sound fraudulent, but hey, man, anything to...
It is not fraudulent. We're not really lying because pretty much we are allergic to them. They're creating inflammation in the body. So I'm not really lying.
Sound like a lawyer.
Justifying it somehow.
So my last question, you oftentimes travel. How does one stay, because it's virtually impossible to get a good home cooked meal when you're on the road. So yeah. How do you stay, or do your best to stay healthy when you travel?
That's a good question. So when I travel, I always look for restaurants that have burgers and steaks and they grill them. So you just have to do a little bit of some research, call some restaurants, and you could find that pretty much everywhere. So I even if it's not organic, grass fed, and what I would prefer, I'm okay with that as long as they grill the burgers or grill the steaks. And most restaurants do that. So as long as you can find grilled meat, that's usually my go-to when I travel.
No sides, no fries.
No fries. I don't do fries. That's going to be in vegetable oil. But yeah, you could get sides like. You're not going to like the sides, but like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, even white rice. Sometimes I'll get white rice as a side. That's safer than fries.
Got you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, man. I learn something new every single time.
Thank you. I always have fun with you. So thanks for having me on the show. You're doing a good job with the podcast. Good to see you have a co-host today too. It's awesome.
Thank you for your time.
All your heart's desires remain in the description. Please go follow Ben on all his wonderful things. You will be amazed what you're doing to yourself. My goodness, I love Country Crock, man. Damn.